Hi, welcome to Thiru Academy. Today we are going to discuss about how to implement service layer in Spring Boot application. Okay, for that I have created one application. Have already implemented. I'll explain you and I'll share this code in GitHub repository. Okay, for that already implemented application, right? I'll explain you what are the dependencies I have taken in that application first of all. Okay, for that, I have taken that Spring Boot Data JPA dependency. This is the default dependency when we create Spring Boot starter is the default dependency when we create the Spring Boot application. It will automatically come when we create that application. Okay. We have taken that Spring Boot Data JPA dependency and Oracle driver dependency. Why? Because I'm using Oracle dependency, Oracle as backend. So that's why I have taken data JPA and the Oracle driver dependency. One more thing, Lombok dependency I have taken. One thing I need to clarify, this is not web application. This is the standalone application. Okay. These three dependencies I have taken. Other than that, nothing I have taken. Okay. Dependencies are fine. Then next, and coming to application development, here this is one important interview question in Spring Boot. How we can treat that properties files by using at the rate property source annotation. We can treat that properties files which are provided in class path location. The class path location means resources folder is there, right? In that that is the class path location. In that I have provided that configuration dot properties file. That file I'm reading here by using at the rate property source annotation. For that value is the attribute and we need to specify that property file name like this. Then quotes class path colon configuration dot properties like this will provide. That's so that we can read that properties file here. Okay. Um, Coming to implementation, I have taken that dependency environment. One dependency I have taken, provided that dependency injection for that environment class, and one more thing, application context I have taken. Why? Because this is standalone application. I have already told you. Okay, this is the standard implementation provided by Spring Boot when we create that Spring Boot application. Okay, and coming to here, we need to override that run method, right? Same thing I have provided. Here, whenever we are going with standalone application, we need to write like this: implements command line, second, command line runner. This is the interface we need to implement so that we can override that run method. Public void run string args we need to provide like this. Okay, arguments, method parameters. Okay, here I'm giving that user input values through keyboard only here. Okay, user is the modal class. See, this is the properties I have taken in this model class. User ID, password, name, city, email and phone. Same values I am getting it from keyboard by using scanner class. Okay. Here enter user ID I am taking all are strings only. Enter password, enter name, enter city, email and phone. Okay. Fine. All those values I am appending to user object. Okay, we have user details now with us. Okay, registration service, this is the service main service class I have implemented in this application. Okay, registration service of we need to downcast that context object. Okay, context dot get bean of registration service, and here service dot we are calling that our implemented method. Register user of user object we are sending here. Okay, it is returning that registration message. It is whether it is registration successful or not. Okay, I'm opening that registration service class in that register user method. Here, observe that. Yeah, fine. Yes, registration service is the class. Here we have provided at the rate service. Why? Because this is service layer, right? We need to provide at the rate component, or else at the rate service annotation we need to provide to create that bean for this class. Okay, bean object we need to create, right? For that we need to provide that annotation. Okay, here user repository is the repository we have created in this project. Here we need to provide. Okay, fine. User repository is the interface. For this we can provide at the rate repository or at the rate component also, fine. I'm providing at the rate repository only. Okay, fine. Extend user repository extends JPA repository. We need to extend the JPA repository. Why? Because we need to call that save method and all, right? That's why. Uh, we need to extend the JPA repository. For this JPA repository, we need to provide that entity, class name, and that type of that ID. We here I have taken string type in that user entity. This is user ID is the primary key ID. I have taken as string type. That string type we have provided here. This is the entity class. Okay, fine. Coming to service. Here we have provided that dependency injection for user repository from service, and I have taken one regular expression here. We need to take username, password, email, and all, right. For that regular expression I have taken like this: small a to z, capital A to z, 0 to 9. We can take any letters and numbers, and that to range 4 to 15 characters we can provide. Okay. Yeah, register user, this method we are calling. Okay, we have already user model object with us with details. Okay, here registration message we are calling from that properties file, right? User repository dot registration success. This is the key value we have provided in this proper configuration dot properties. In this property file we have provided, see, user repository dot registration success. You are successfully registered. That message we need to return whether that registration process is success. Otherwise, this is the invalid messages in the sense we are validating that user object, right? In that for that user ID we need to provide invalid user ID. For that invalid password validation just we need to provide invalid password. Like that we need to provide these values. Okay, fine. Coming to service again. Okay, here we are validating that user object. Validate user method we are calling from here. Okay, I am opening that validate user method. Okay, we have it is throwing spring boot exception. Okay, what is spring boot exception? Here this is spring boot exception extends that exception class, nothing but user defined exception class only. Okay, fine. I have created like that. Okay, I have taken spring boot exception. Fine. Here we have user object, right? Validating that user ID first. If not is valid user ID, user dot get user ID. We are taking user ID from user object and we are validating that. This is the method we are calling for. It returns the boolean value, whether true or false. Okay, I'm opening this method is valid user ID. It is taking that user ID. It is taking that user ID and validating this. Okay, here we have user ID with us. Boolean is the boolean variable b1 we have taken. Okay, pattern. Here regular expression we have taken that regular expression we are validating that pattern, and we are matching with matcher class we are using to match that user id. Okay, if matcher one dot matches, this is the method we need to use for comparing that user, for validating that user id. Okay, if it is matches it will return true. b1 initially we have taken false, now it is if it is okay, validation successful, it returns true. Okay, otherwise it returns same false only. Okay, like that we are validating that user id. Here if it is returns true, it is not throwing any exception. It comes again, it will take that password value from user object and it is validating. For password validation we are using this method. For password we are taking this regular expression value, small a to z, capital A to z, 0 to 9, and length is 8 to 15 characters we need to take. Same process for that password also. Okay, again same way we are validating that get name and get city, get email, get phone also. For every method we have separate validation methods. Okay, for email this is the expression we are using, for phone number this is the expression we are using. Okay, for that city and name, same regular expression we are using. Okay, same way we are validating that all the values by using if loops. Okay, if condition. Okay, fine, we are validating that user object, and if it is returns validate user is fine. Okay, if it is success, if all the values we have, if it meets the requirement, like we mentioned in regular expression, we are checking that if user id already exists or not by using that exist by id, user repository dot exist by id method, user dot get user id. By using that user id we are checking if it is already exist or not in db. Okay, it returns true or false. If it is exist, it returns true. Then it if true, it throws that user id already present exception. Then we need to return that registration service dot user id present. See, this message we need to write. We'll see what if it is present in properties file or not. We didn't mention. I'll mention now. Okay. User ID present. User ID already present. This is message we need to return. Okay, fine. If it is user ID does not exist in DB, we need to create that entity object by using that user object. Okay, I am taking a user entity class here. I have created this user entity. We need to mention at the rate entity. Why? Because this is the entity class, we are going to store these values in database. That's why. Okay, for table I'm mentioning that table name as user details table. Okay, for that I am using at the rate table, and at the rate data is Lombok, from Lombok jar we are taking to create setters and getters, and at the rate all args constructor for creating all argument constructor, and at the rate no argument constructor is useful to create no args constructor. Okay, this is primary key id. That's why I am taking at the rate id. Okay, here same user id, column name I am taking user id. That's why I have mentioned. Okay, fine, entity class is fine, class is also fine. We are appending those user model class user object values into entity class object. Okay, this is the setter methods we are using to append those user object values into entity class, and finally we are storing these entity object user repository dot save of user entity. You need to mention like that to store that entity class object in database. Okay, finally we are returning that registration message. What is that registration message? User repository dot registration success. User repository dot registration success. You are successfully registered. We need to return this message. Okay, I am running this application. Let's see. For that, one thing I need to mention. What is that? Here we are validating. For validation, we are using each and every sorry, yeah. We are validating each and every property in user object, right? For that, we have created that user defined exception classes for user ID, invalid user ID exception. This is the class we have created. Invalid user ID exception class extends Spring Boot exception. This is one of the user defined exception class which extends that exception class. Okay, I have mentioned like this. Okay, for that every property I have created. For password, invalid password exception. For name, invalid name. For city, invalid city. For email, invalid email exception. For phone number, invalid phone exception. Like this I have mentioned that exception classes. Okay, all classes explained. Okay, for that, sorry, we are using Spring Data JPA, right? We need to mention these properties in application.properties file. That is spring.datasource.url, Oracle DB, URL, username, password, these properties. This is to show that queries in console. This property is useful to update in DB table. Okay, this is the dialect class we need to mention which is specific to database. Okay, fine. Port number 8090 I am mentioning. This is Oracle driver class name. Okay, fine. I am running this application. Run as Spring Boot application. Or maybe it will take little bit time. We'll see. Yes, it is asking enter user ID. I'm entering first we'll see I will enter all the correct values, then I once we stored in DB, the first second time, from second time onwards we'll enter wrong values. Okay, Thiru, enter password. Thiru Academy, enter name. Thiru, city, Hyderabad, email. Thiru @gmail.com, phone 90909090. Fine. See, we are getting you are successfully registered. Okay, we'll see in DB. Yeah, we have table. Yeah, user ID Thiru, city Hyderabad, email, name, password, phone. We have stored, right. From second time onwards, we'll enter wrong values. Okay. Again, I'm run as Spring Boot application. As it is asking user ID, entering Thiru, password. I'm entering same. Name, I'm entering same. City, HYD. Here we need to get invalid password. Email, same. Phone, yeah. We are getting invalid password. Why it is not going to remaining once means, or why it is not going to remaining once is here We are checking, we are validating in that way, validate user. Here we are using a normal if user ID or is validation is success, then it will go to password. If it is user ID and password both success, then only it will go to name. Like that we have implemented. Okay, that's right. It is showing that only if password is wrong, I mean pattern, we are not meeting that requirements, regular expression as we mentioned in the regular expression. That's why it is showing invalid password. I'll run once again. We'll see one more validation. Run as Spring Boot application. Yes, it is asking user ID, Thiru, password, Thiru Academy, name Thiru, it is also 4 characters is enough. And city also I'm entering full. Then email I'm entering wrong. Okay, phone. See, invalid email ID. Like this we are validating. One more time I'll run. If already user ID exists, right, I will enter same. How we can get exception message, we'll see now. Run as Spring Boot application. Yes, it is asking user ID, Thiru, password, Thiru Academy, Thiru, city, Hyderabad, email gmail.com, phone. Yes, fine. See, user ID already present in DB. In DB we didn't mention. If it is already there in DB, we need to display like that. User ID already present. Like this, we need to display, right? Yes. If you really like this video, please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and share this video. If you have any doubt, please come specify in comment box. Thank you for watching.